The night was silent, too silent for comfort. On the distant planet of Zerion, under a pale green sky, a lone human named Ethan crouched behind a jagged rock, his heart pounding in his chest. He had never imagined himself here, facing an army that could crush entire worlds, yet here he was. The air smelled strange, metallic and electric, and a faint hum vibrated through the ground beneath his feet. He could see them moving in the distance, thousands of alien soldiers, their armor reflecting the eerie glow of Zerion's moons. Each step they took made the ground tremble, and every shadow seemed alive with danger. Ethan's hands tightened around the weapon he barely understood how to use. It was a gift, or maybe a curse, left behind by the previous explorers who had vanished years ago. The alien army was unlike anything humans had ever faced. Tall, sinewy, with eyes that glowed like molten gold, and claws sharp enough to slice through steel. And yet, despite the odds, Ethan refused to run. He couldn't. Not now. Not when he had already come so far. The sound of the army's approach grew louder. Ethan's mind raced, thinking of every strategy he had ever read in books, seen in simulations, or imagined in dreams. But nothing prepared him for this. The aliens were precise, coordinated, and terrifyingly intelligent. Their leader, a massive creature with armor etched in alien runes, moved like a predator stalking prey. Every time Ethan tried to plan his next move, the leader's piercing gaze seemed to find him, as if it could see his fear. Ethan's eyes flicked to the strange device strapped to his chest. It pulsed with a faint blue light, almost as if it were alive. He had no idea how it worked, only that it was his last hope. Around him, the alien army spread out like a black wave, cutting off any chance of escape. Panic whispered in his mind, but he swallowed it down. He had to stay focused. One wrong step could mean instant death. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the rocky landscape, a scout from the alien army, smaller, quicker, almost invisible. It paused, sensing Ethan's presence. Ethan froze. The scout's eyes glowed brighter, scanning the area. Time seemed to slow. Every muscle in Ethan's body tensed. He could feel the sweat trickle down his neck. Then, with a sudden burst, the scout lunged forward. Ethan barely had time to raise his weapon. The shot rang out, echoing across the silent plains. The scout fell, its body dissolving into a cloud of strange particles. For a moment, Ethan allowed himself a breath of relief. But he knew this was only the beginning. The main army was still advancing, and the leader was closer than ever. Every second now counted. Ethan remembered the training he had never finished, the simulations he had always failed. He had always been small, underestimated, and considered weak. But here, on this alien world, he realized something vital. Strength was not just physical. It was courage, it was cunning, and it was the refusal to surrender, even when the universe itself seemed to conspire against him. He moved quietly, slipping between the rocks, using shadows as his allies. The army seemed almost everywhere at once, yet somehow, he stayed just out of reach. He had no reinforcements, no plan, and very little ammunition. All he had was himself, the device on his chest, and the determination to survive. The alien leader roared, a sound that shook the ground and rattled Ethan's bones. He could see it now, close enough to touch, its massive claws glinting in the pale light. And yet, Ethan did something no human, or perhaps any creature, had done before. He smiled, just slightly, feeling the thrill of impossible odds. He activated the device on his chest. A blue light enveloped him, bright enough to blind even the alien soldiers for a brief moment. The leader froze, shocked. Ethan ran, weaving through the rocks, dodging claws, and using the terrain to his advantage. Every step was dangerous, but he could sense the alien army hesitating, unsure of this human who fought with something they could not understand. In that instant, Ethan knew something important. He was not just fighting to survive. He was fighting to prove that one human could challenge an entire army, that courage could outweigh sheer numbers, and that even in the darkest corners of the universe, hope could shine through. But the battle was far from over. The alien army was regrouping, and the leader's eyes burned with a new intensity. Ethan could feel the weight of what was coming. The next move would decide everything. One wrong choice, one misstep, and it could all be over. And yet, as he crouched behind the rocks once more, catching his breath and preparing for the next assault, Ethan felt a strange exhilaration. The universe had thrown him into the deepest abyss, and yet, for the first time, he felt truly alive. The alien army's shadow stretched longer, moving closer, almost swallowing the entire horizon. Ethan gripped his weapon tighter, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. The impossible had begun, and there was no turning back. Ethan's heart raced as he darted through the rocky terrain, the blue glow from his chest device fading with each step. The alien army was reorganizing, and he could see them in the distance, moving like a dark tide ready to crash down. The alien leader had not given up. Its eyes burned with intelligence and fury, scanning every shadow, every rock, every movement. He paused behind a tall jagged stone, taking in the landscape. There was no shelter here, no army of humans waiting to fight beside him. Just him, the device, and the endless, terrifying army. But Ethan's mind worked faster than fear. He knew he could not run forever. He needed a plan, even if it was risky, even if it seemed impossible. The ground trembled again, and Ethan's stomach dropped. A group of alien soldiers had split from the main army, moving in a wide arc, trying to cut him off. He realized they had studied him, learned his patterns, predicted his movements. This was more than strength, it was strategy, and Ethan had to be cleverer. He spotted a narrow canyon just ahead, its walls rising high like natural fortresses. He ran toward it, hoping the terrain would work in his favor. As he entered the canyon, the alien scouts followed, their claws scraping the stone. Ethan's weapon fired again and again, but each shot seemed to barely slow them. Still, the canyon offered him something valuable, a chance to fight in close quarters where numbers mattered less. Ethan's mind raced, thinking about everything he knew about humans, their curiosity, their creativity, their stubbornness. He realized he could use that. Humans had survived countless dangers on Earth because they thought differently. They improvised, they adapted, and they never gave up. He had to channel that now, or it would be the end. As the first alien lunged at him, he sidestepped and threw a small device from his pocket. It exploded in a flash of light, blinding the creatures for a brief moment. Ethan took advantage of the confusion, running deeper into the canyon, using every twist and turn to his advantage. The alien soldiers were fast, but they were not human. They could not think the way he did, not like this. Suddenly, he felt a strange vibration from the device on his chest. The blue light grew stronger, pulsing in sync with his heartbeat. Ethan realized it wasn't just a tool, it was reacting to his will, to his determination. He didn't fully understand it, but he knew one thing. He had a secret edge that the alien army did not expect. The canyon narrowed, and the leader appeared at the entrance, massive and terrifying. It bellowed, a sound so powerful it shook the rocks around Ethan. The smaller soldiers froze, staring at their commander. Ethan's hands shook, but he raised his weapon anyway. He had no idea if it would work, but he had to try. The leader roared again and charged. Ethan dodged, rolled, and activated his chest device fully. A wave of energy shot out, hitting the canyon walls and reflecting back like a deadly mirror. The leader stumbled, confused by the sudden blast. Ethan realized that this energy could be amplified by the canyon itself. Every wall, every rock could turn into a weapon. He smiled grimly. The battlefield was now his advantage. The aliens attacked again, but Ethan moved like a shadow, weaving between the walls, dodging claws, and firing precise shots. Each movement seemed impossible, but somehow, he managed. He was human, fragile, and alone, but also unpredictable. That unpredictability was terrifying to the aliens. In the midst of the chaos, Ethan noticed something unusual. A small group of alien soldiers hesitated, whispering in their strange language. The leader barked commands, but the soldiers seemed confused, unsure. Ethan realized something incredible. The aliens, as powerful as they were, had never faced a human who refused to give up, who fought with courage and creativity instead of just strength. A sudden explosion rocked the canyon, throwing dust and debris everywhere. Ethan was thrown to the ground, coughing, but he got up immediately. The aliens were retreating slightly, regrouping, and he had just enough time to think, plan, and act. He knew the leader would not give up, but maybe, just maybe, he could turn the tide, if he could outsmart the rest of the army. As Ethan caught his breath, he felt something inside him shift. Fear was still there, but it was mingled with excitement, determination, and a strange sense of power. He realized that this fight was not just about survival. It was about proving that one human could challenge an entire alien army. That courage, creativity, and determination could be stronger than raw strength and overwhelming numbers. And for the first time, he felt he was not just a lone human against impossible odds. He felt like a symbol, a spark that could ignite hope, even in a universe that seemed determined to crush him. The alien leader roared again from the canyon entrance, shaking the ground. Ethan smiled, just slightly, knowing that the real battle was only beginning. He was ready. He had to be. There was no turning back. The night sky of Zerion stretched above him, full of stars that watched silently as one human prepared to face an entire army, and maybe, just maybe, change the course of the universe. Ethan's chest heaved as he crouched in the canyon, the echoes of the alien leader's roar still shaking the walls. He could hear the smaller soldiers regrouping behind him, their claws scraping the stone floor. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he knew the real battle was about to begin. The alien army was larger than he had imagined, and the leader's presence alone made the ground tremble. But Ethan was not just a soldier, he was human, and humans had a way of surviving when all seemed lost. The canyon narrowed even further, forcing the aliens into a tight formation. Ethan realized this was his chance. Numbers were meaningless here. The aliens were strong, fast, and terrifying, but predictable. He could use the terrain, the rocks, and his device to turn the tide. A massive alien lunged at him, claws extended, eyes glowing like molten gold. Ethan rolled to the side, feeling the wind from its strike whip past his face. He fired his weapon, and a precise shot hit the alien's chest, sending it crashing into the wall. Sparks flew, and the alien screamed, a sound so horrifying that it echoed in Ethan's ears. He didn't have time to dwell on it. Others were coming. Ethan's chest device pulsed with blue light, almost in sync with his heartbeat. He didn't fully understand it, but he had learned something crucial. It responded to his focus, his determination. The more he believed he could win, the stronger the device became. He pressed forward, weaving through the canyon, dodging, shooting, and using the walls to his advantage. The alien leader appeared again at the mouth of the canyon, massive and imposing. It bellowed, a roar that shook the rocks and sent small stones tumbling down around Ethan. The smaller aliens followed, forming a moving wall of claws and glowing eyes. Ethan's mind raced. He couldn't fight them all head-on, he had to be smarter. He remembered a lesson humans learned long ago on battlefields across countless worlds: divide and conquer. The canyon split the alien army, forcing smaller groups into narrow corridors where they couldn't move freely. Ethan led the leader's forces into a series of twists and turns, firing and dodging with incredible precision. One by one, the aliens fell back, confused and frustrated. They were fast, yes, but they were not human. They couldn't think like him, couldn't anticipate every sudden move. Ethan paused briefly behind a jagged rock, catching his breath. He looked up and saw the alien leader glaring down the canyon. Its golden eyes burned with rage and intelligence. This creature had fought countless wars, conquered entire planets, and yet here it was, unsure how to deal with a single human. Ethan smiled grimly. That uncertainty was his weapon. He pressed a button on his chest device, releasing a burst of energy that rippled through the canyon walls. The rocks vibrated, sending small debris flying, cutting off the path behind him and scattering the alien soldiers. Ethan ran faster than he ever had, using every ounce of speed, agility, and instinct. The alien leader roared and charged after him, but Ethan had already anticipated its path, ducking into a hidden crevice just in time. For a brief moment, silence returned. Ethan could hear his own breathing, feel the pulse of adrenaline in his veins. The alien army was massive, but it was also learning, adapting. And so was he. Humans thrived on challenges, and the greater the danger, the sharper Ethan's mind became. Suddenly, a smaller alien scout appeared in front of him, its glowing eyes narrowing. Ethan had no time to aim. He leapt to the side, rolled over the alien, and kicked it into the canyon wall. It screeched, staggering back. Ethan didn't wait to see what happened next. He kept moving, deeper into the twisting labyrinth of rocks. Every second counted, and the alien army was relentless. As he ran, Ethan realized something extraordinary. The alien leader was not just pursuing him. It was learning from him, adapting, trying to predict his movements. But the human mind was unpredictable, creative, and stubborn. Ethan started setting traps, rolling boulders, triggering energy bursts, and using the canyon's natural features to his advantage. Each move was risky, but the thrill of survival, the sheer impossibility of what he was doing, pushed him further than he ever imagined. The leader roared again, shaking the canyon with a deafening sound. Ethan paused for a fraction of a second, feeling the weight of the entire alien army pressing in on him. He could almost hear them whispering, wondering how one human could move with such precision, such courage. And that's when Ethan realized something vital. He was not just surviving. He was inspiring fear, hesitation, and doubt in creatures that had never known defeat. For the first time, he felt a strange exhilaration. The battle was far from over, but he had discovered a truth that no alien could ever understand. Courage, intelligence, and sheer determination could challenge even the most powerful enemy. The alien leader took a step closer, its claws scraping the stone floor. Ethan's chest device glowed brighter than ever. He smiled, a small, confident smile, knowing that the real fight, the one that could decide the fate of this world, was only just beginning. The night sky above Zerion stretched endlessly, stars watching silently as one human prepared to face an entire army. And in the twisting, shadowed canyon, Ethan felt the impossible thrill of hope, a hope that burned brighter than any fear. Ethan's legs burned as he raced through the twisting canyon, the alien leader and its soldiers closing in. The blue light from his chest device pulsed stronger than ever, almost as if it were alive, reacting to his fear and determination. Every step felt like a gamble. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and the army that had already conquered countless worlds could end him in an instant. The canyon widened suddenly, opening into a vast rocky plateau. Ethan paused for a fraction of a second, scanning the area. There was no cover, just jagged stones scattered across the uneven ground. But he smiled grimly. This was the perfect trap. He knew he could not outrun the army forever, but he could make the terrain work for him. Humans were unpredictable, and he would use every ounce of creativity to survive. The alien scouts reached the plateau first, moving with terrifying precision. Their glowing eyes swept the rocks, searching for him. Ethan crouched low behind a large boulder, waiting for the right moment. He could hear the rumble of the leader approaching, each step shaking the ground beneath him. He took a deep breath, his mind racing through plans, contingencies, and possibilities. Then, without warning, Ethan activated his chest device fully. A wave of blue energy surged outward, striking the rocks and scattering debris in all directions. The alien soldiers staggered, momentarily blinded and disoriented. It was enough. Enough for Ethan to move, to dash across the open plateau, zigzagging between boulders, drawing the aliens into a deadly game of chase. The alien leader arrived at the edge of the plateau, massive and furious. It let out a roar that shook the air, a sound that could terrify any ordinary creature. But Ethan was not ordinary. He leapt from boulder to boulder, dodging the leader's massive claws, narrowly avoiding strikes that could crush him instantly. Every move was precise, calculated, and driven by a mix of fear and determination. He remembered something vital. The aliens relied on coordination and strength. They could overpower almost anything, but they could not anticipate creativity. Ethan began using the plateau's terrain against them. He triggered loose rocks, sending them rolling toward the advancing soldiers. He activated bursts of his chest device, creating blinding flashes of light that left enemies staggering. He ran faster, thinking quicker, always one step ahead. One small group of aliens tried to flank him, moving silently around the plateau's edge. Ethan spotted them just in time. He threw a rock with perfect aim, hitting one soldier in the chest. It stumbled into another, and chaos erupted among the smaller group. The alien leader roared in frustration, furious at its soldiers' failure. Ethan knew he had to keep up the pressure, never give them a chance to adapt. As he moved, Ethan noticed something strange. The alien leader paused, its glowing eyes scanning the plateau. For the first time, it hesitated. It had encountered resistance, unexpected tactics, and creativity. It had never faced a human who could outthink an entire army. Ethan felt a surge of confidence. The odds were still against him, but for the first time, he realized he could make a difference. Suddenly, a massive shadow fell over him. The alien leader had leapt across the plateau, landing directly in his path. Ethan skidded to a stop, barely avoiding the deadly claws. The ground cracked beneath him. He could feel the leader's power radiating, almost like a force that tried to crush his mind and body. Yet he did not falter. He raised his chest device and fired a concentrated pulse. The energy hit the leader, creating a shockwave that threw dust and debris into the air. The leader roared in anger, but it was momentarily stunned. Ethan didn't hesitate. He ran, using the leader's momentary weakness to create distance. The smaller alien soldiers were regrouping, but he could feel their confusion. One human, one unpredictable mind, was causing havoc in their ranks. They had numbers, strength, and precision, but he had strategy, courage, and the relentless human will to survive. He paused briefly behind a boulder, breathing hard, adrenaline pumping through his veins. He realized the truth. This was not just a battle for survival. It was a battle of wills. One human against an entire alien army, proving that courage, creativity, and determination could challenge even the strongest forces in the universe. The alien leader recovered, shaking the ground with another roar. Ethan's chest device glowed brighter than ever, responding to his focus. He felt an extraordinary connection with it, almost as if it were alive, channeling his courage, his hope, and his refusal to surrender. The plateau stretched out before him, the night sky of Zerion shimmering above. The alien army was closing in from all sides, but Ethan stood tall, weapon ready, mind sharp, heart racing. He was one human against countless enemies, but he was far from defeated. For the first time, he smiled. The impossible was only beginning, and the universe had thrown its deadliest challenge at him. But Ethan was ready. Every human instinct, every spark of ingenuity, and every ounce of courage in him surged forward. The battle was far from over, but one thing was clear. This human would not fall without a fight. And in the silence between roars, the stars above seemed to watch, witnessing the extraordinary moment when one human stood defiantly against an entire alien army. Ethan's lungs burned as he crouched behind a shattered boulder, the alien army closing in from every direction. The blue glow of his chest device pulsed violently, almost as if it were warning him that the next phase of the battle would be unlike anything he had faced before. The air shimmered with heat and energy, and a low hum spread through the ground, a warning that something far deadlier than the soldiers was awakening. He peered over the boulder and froze. Rising from the center of the alien ranks was a massive, metallic construct unlike any creature he had seen. Its body was taller than 10 humans, covered in dark armor that gleamed with strange energy. Red eyes glowed from its head as mechanical limbs whirred and extended. This was no ordinary soldier. It was a weapon, an ultimate force designed to annihilate any resistance. The alien leader was behind it, guiding it with sharp, precise commands. Ethan's heart pounded. One human, against thousands of alien soldiers, and now a towering weapon of destruction. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but he refused. Humans had always faced impossible odds and survived. He was not going to give up now. The construct stepped forward, and with every movement, the ground shook violently. Ethan ducked as a massive arm smashed where he had just been standing. He realized that the boulder he hid behind would not withstand another hit. He needed a plan, and he needed it fast. The smaller alien soldiers advanced, coordinating with the construct. Their tactics were flawless, but Ethan's mind was sharper. He studied the construct's movement, noticing a pattern, a slight delay between the extension of its limbs and the firing of its weapons. That delay was his chance. He activated his chest device fully. A wave of energy shot out, creating a shimmering shield around him. The construct's first strike slammed against the shield, sending sparks and smoke into the air. Ethan's ears rang, but he remained focused. He had to use the terrain to his advantage. Diving between jagged rocks, he drew the construct's attention, luring it into a trap. He jumped from one stone to another, each leap forcing the giant weapon to swing and miscalculate. Its massive claws tore through rocks, creating dust and chaos, but Ethan moved faster than the machine could react. Humans were small, flexible, and unpredictable, qualities no alien weapon could match. Suddenly, one of the alien leader's smaller soldiers tried to flank him. Ethan fired his weapon, striking the soldier, and used the moment of distraction to leap onto a high ledge. From there, he could see the construct's core, an energy source glowing red beneath its armor. He realized something incredible. If he could destroy that core, the weapon would fall, and the alien army might lose its edge. But reaching it would not be easy. The construct's long limbs swept across the plateau, striking anything that moved. Ethan studied the pattern, waiting for the perfect moment. Then, with a burst of courage, he sprinted forward, dodging debris, leaping over gaps, and using the shadows to conceal his approach. Every second was a gamble. One mistake could mean instant death. The construct spotted him, swinging a massive arm. Ethan rolled just in time, feeling the air blast past him. He scrambled across jagged rocks, each step testing his balance and speed. His chest device pulsed brighter, almost guiding him, as if it understood the gravity of this moment. He could feel its energy sinking with his heartbeat, his determination, his refusal to surrender. Finally, he was beneath the construct. The core glowed brightly, protected by armor and machinery. Ethan took a deep breath, focusing every ounce of courage and intellect he possessed. He activated the chest device fully. A concentrated beam of blue energy shot upward, striking the core. The weapon shuddered violently, sparks flying, metal screeching. The alien leader screamed orders, but it was too late. The construct collapsed, crashing to the plateau with a deafening roar. Smaller soldiers scattered, unsure how to react. Ethan stood on the rocks, breathing heavily, heart racing. One human had destroyed the alien army's ultimate weapon, and for a moment, the impossible seemed real. The alien leader roared, fury and disbelief burning in its eyes. It advanced toward Ethan, but now the momentum had shifted. The army hesitated, unsure how to proceed without their weapon. Ethan gritted his teeth, knowing this was his chance to strike again, to prove that humans were not just survivors, they were warriors capable of challenging the universe itself. He didn't waste a second. He leapt forward, chest device pulsing, weapon ready, moving with speed, precision, and courage that no alien could anticipate. The battlefield was chaotic, filled with smoke, sparks, and the echoes of war, but Ethan was in his element. One human, facing an entire alien army, refusing to fall. The night sky of Zerion stretched above, silent and vast. The stars watched as one human carved a path through impossible odds, showing that courage, ingenuity, and determination could defy even the deadliest forces in the universe. Ethan knew the battle was far from over, but he had taken the first step. One human could challenge an entire alien army, and maybe, just maybe, change the fate of the universe itself. Ethan stood on the plateau, chest heaving, as the wreckage of the fallen construct smoldered around him. The smaller alien soldiers hesitated, confused and leaderless for the first time in the battle. But there was one threat that remained, a massive figure, taller than any creature he had ever seen, with glowing golden eyes that burned like fire. The alien leader. It advanced slowly, deliberately, its armor clanking with each step, radiating raw power. Ethan felt the weight of the moment press down on him. One human, standing alone, against the conqueror of countless worlds. Fear whispered in his mind, but he swallowed it. Humans were survivors. Humans adapted. Humans never gave up. And Ethan was about to prove it. The alien leader roared, a sound that shook the plateau and rattled the rocks. Ethan raised his weapon, chest device glowing with bright blue light. He could feel it pulsing in sync with his heartbeat, almost like it understood his determination. This was no ordinary human moment. It was something extraordinary, something that defied logic and expectation. The leader lunged, moving faster than its massive size suggested. Its claws struck the ground, sending shards of rock flying toward Ethan. He rolled to the side, firing his weapon as he moved, each shot sparking against the alien armor but doing little damage. He realized brute force would not work. Strategy, speed, and the chest device were his only hope. Ethan darted between rocks, using every shadow and jagged edge to stay ahead of the massive predator. He studied the alien's movements, noticing subtle patterns in its attacks. Every swing, every step, followed a rhythm. And in that rhythm, Ethan saw a chance. He activated the chest device fully, releasing a pulse of energy that temporarily blinded the alien leader. It staggered, claws swinging wildly, eyes burning with confusion and rage. Ethan didn't hesitate. He leapt onto a high rock ledge, drawing the leader's attention upward. Its massive form lunged after him, crashing into the plateau with a thunderous impact that shook the ground. Dust and debris filled the air. Ethan grinned grimly. One human could be small, fragile, and alone, but one human could also be unpredictable, clever, and fearless. He ran along the ledge, dodging attacks, and fired precise bursts from his weapon. Sparks flew as they hit the alien armor, leaving marks, scratches, proof that even the mightiest enemy could be wounded by ingenuity and courage. The leader's roar echoed across the plateau, louder than ever. It was angry, frustrated, and almost unsure. Humans were not supposed to stand against it, let alone fight back with skill and determination. But Ethan was no ordinary human. He had learned, adapted, and now he was the hunter, not the hunted. He noticed a weak point, a small gap in the armor near the leader's chest, glowing faintly red. His pulse quickened. This was his chance. But reaching it meant exposing himself to attacks that could kill him instantly. Ethan hesitated for only a fraction of a second before leaping into action. Humans survived by taking risks, and this was the biggest risk of his life. He darted forward, weaving between massive claws, dodging strikes that could crush him in an instant. His chest device pulsed brighter than ever, almost guiding him. And then, with a desperate leap, he struck the glowing weak point with the full force of his device. The alien leader bellowed in pain, staggering back. Sparks and energy erupted from the armor, smoke and light filling the air. The smaller soldiers hesitated, unsure how to respond. Ethan seized the moment, firing one last precise shot at the exposed core. The leader roared again, a sound filled with rage, disbelief, and pain, before collapsing to the plateau with a deafening crash. Silence followed. Dust settled over the battlefield. Ethan's chest heaved, sweat and blood covering him, but he was alive. One human had faced the alien leader, the ultimate warrior of a powerful army, and survived. He had proven that courage, intelligence, and determination could stand against impossible odds. The smaller alien soldiers fled, scattering into the shadows. Ethan stood alone, victorious but exhausted. He had won this battle, but he knew the war might not be over. Yet, in that moment, he realized something extraordinary. One human, against the mightiest force in the universe, could make a difference. The night sky stretched endlessly above Zerion, stars shimmering silently as Ethan looked up, feeling the weight and the wonder of what he had accomplished. The impossible had happened. One human had faced an entire alien army and their leader, and survived to tell the tale. Ethan smiled, small but genuine, as he realized the universe would never forget this moment. He had become more than a survivor. He had become a symbol, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. And somewhere in the darkness, beyond the horizon, he knew the stars were watching. The battle might be won, but the story of humanity against the universe had only just begun. The battlefield was silent now. Smoke and dust swirled in the night air, painting the plateau in shades of gray and red. Ethan stood among the rubble, chest heaving, weapon still in hand, and his chest device glowing faintly, a quiet reminder of the incredible power that had helped him survive. The alien army was gone, scattered, broken, and leaderless. One human had stood against impossible odds, and had emerged victorious. Ethan lowered his weapon, looking around at the devastation. The plateau was scarred, rocks shattered, and the remnants of the alien construct lay smoldering in the distance. Yet, amidst the destruction, he felt a strange sense of triumph. This was more than a battle. This was proof that humans, though small and seemingly fragile, could challenge forces that seemed unstoppable. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air of Zerion against his skin. For a moment, he allowed himself to remember everything he had endured: the endless chase through the canyon, the attacks of the alien soldiers, the terrifying confrontation with the ultimate weapon, and finally, the face-to-face battle with the alien leader. Each moment had tested him, pushed him beyond limits he never thought he had, and yet he had survived. More than survived, he had conquered. Ethan's mind wandered to Earth, to the humans who had trained him, prepared him, and sent him on this mission. They had believed he could make a difference, even against overwhelming odds. Now he understood why. Humans were not just strong physically. They were strong in courage, in ingenuity, in the stubborn refusal to give up. That strength could change the course of events, even in a universe filled with terrifying enemies. The stars above Zerion twinkled, silent witnesses to his victory. Ethan felt a strange connection to them, a reminder that the universe was vast, full of dangers, but also full of hope. One human had faced an entire alien army and survived. One human had shown that determination, intelligence, and courage could stand against overwhelming power. As he walked across the plateau, Ethan noticed something unexpected. The alien soldiers who had fled were regrouping in the distance, but they no longer moved with confidence. Their coordination faltered, their movements hesitant. The collapse of their leader had created confusion, doubt, and fear. Ethan realized that his actions had not only won a battle, they had shaken the very foundation of the alien army. One human had made them question themselves. A small smile crept across his face. Humans were underestimated across the universe, often dismissed as fragile or weak. But here, on a distant world, one human had rewritten that perception. The victory was not just his, it was humanity's. He had proven that courage could inspire fear, that ingenuity could overcome strength, and that determination could defy even the most powerful enemies. Ethan paused at the edge of the plateau, looking out over the horizon. Zerion's moons cast pale light across the rocky landscape, illuminating the devastation and the quiet aftermath of an impossible battle. He knew the journey back to Earth would not be easy. The story he carried, the proof of humanity's strength, would be invaluable. But in this moment, he allowed himself to rest, to feel the quiet triumph of survival and victory. The chest device pulsed softly, almost in rhythm with his heartbeat. Ethan touched it lightly, feeling a connection that went beyond technology. It had been more than a tool. It had been a companion, a guide, and a symbol of human potential. He realized that humans did not need advanced weapons or massive armies to be heroes. They needed courage, creativity, and the will to fight when everything seemed lost. The alien army was defeated. Their leader was gone. And one human, small, fragile, and alone, had faced them all and survived. Ethan's journey had been impossible, his odds overwhelming, and yet he had achieved what no one expected. He had become more than a survivor. He had become a symbol of humanity itself. As he took his first steps back toward the distant ship that would carry him home, Ethan looked up at the stars once more. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of challenges, but it was also full of possibilities. One human had stood against an entire alien army. One human had proven that courage, determination, and ingenuity could overcome even the greatest threats. And somewhere, in the silence of space, the story of that human would travel, inspiring hope, fear, and respect. The universe would remember Ethan, and through him, the indomitable spirit of humanity. He walked forward, chest device glowing faintly, every step a testament to what one human could achieve. The impossible had been done. One human had faced an entire alien army, and the universe would never forget it.